The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Remember a simpler time when it was okay to be weird, have fun, and think for yourself?
Well, those days are over. The art of conversation itself is dead. Sacrificed on the altar of divide and conquer and disguised as political correctness and spared feelings. I believe that unity can only come from truth, and that the only way to find truth is by exploring and embracing our valuable differences and having civil, open-minded, and uncomfortable discourse. Conspiracies, politics, religion, and all the taboo topics your family just praise and don't bring up around the Thanksgiving dinner table. We are here to literally change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. So if you're easily offended, put your big girl panties on and buckle up, Buttercup, because you chose to be here. I'm Dan Smots, you are the power, and this is The System Is Down.
It's true. But except for you, you've got great lighting. I can see every pore on your beautiful cherubic face.
Thank you.
Thank you
for noticing. I've been working on them.
Yeah.
So, Scott, the world is officially over. At least as far as Joe Jorgensen is concerned.
Yeah.
There's no more.
Yeah,
We don't have to have that conversation any longer. We can just move on to one. For some reason, we have this layover time where we can decide, where libertarians get to go, now, which do I really want? Like, which am I really more afraid of in this scenario? Because,
that
Joe,
is kind
Joe
of
wasn't going to win anyway.
right. Joe's out. So it's like, okay, which dystopia am I? Which one do I want less?
Right. I posted on the System Is Down page yesterday. I posted something like, now that, the libertarians, these crazy assholes are gone, who do you really like between who we have left? If you want Trump, put the angry face. If you want Biden, put the sad face. And I got an overwhelming majority of laughing faces. Because
Yes.
some people
In fact, when I saw that
afraid to be
post, it
honest.
was exclusively laughing faces.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can respect that to some degree, but you can be honest. I know it's a frightening time to be honest in, but you can be honest and say if you have a preference. And of course, everyone has a little bit of a preference, one over the other. You have to.
Right. And I mean, anybody who's listened to the QAnon Chronicles knows what my preference is.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm going to turn a light on, see if it.
Cool.
That's not better.
I mean, it's a webcam. It's going to be what it's going to be.
It is what it is. We're here to talk, not to look good.
That's right. This is a radio show, and if you're stupid enough to watch it, that's on you. But Scott McElroy of the QAnon Chronicles, how are you, sir?
I'm all right.
Good. I don't have any content for Monday, and I was like, we gotta at least keep doing updates on this. As long as this gets drug out, we have to talk about it a little bit, since we jumped into it with the election apocalypse predictions, right. And now we gotta have some commentary on how it actually plays out in real life, as we still don't know.
Well, isn't it interesting, in our election apocalypse scenarios, the one we didn't project for was not waking up to a winner.
Well, we did. I said we would wake up in February 2021 and still not know that Trump has won.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, so that was in the contingency.
Yeah.
There. Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. It's a fun time being gaslit. I enjoy it. I don't know about you.
I love it. So
I'm really having a great time. Yeah.
So obviously we have an overwhelming majority of straight libertarians who will not admit if they have any leanings on this show, which is great. I'm for it.
Yeah.
We can create our echo chamber all we want. But to those people who obviously aren't paying attention in some ways, what have you witnessed going on with, the shenanigans, the behind the scenes things that we're hearing reports about? Just give us the update on what you've perceived.
We talk behind the scenes stuff like stuff supporting the idea that this is fraudulent in every way, or are you talking like more speculative, like where do we go from here given that it's clearly fraudulent? Which do you want first?
Let's go with the proof that it's fraudulent first.
Yeah.
You've still got some people who are denying the obvious, that there's at least something shady going on here.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. I mean, it's a simple logical exercise. I'm real. In fact, I going to be posting today, but I recorded a little rant where I get probably the most heated I've gotten on an episode of the QAnon Chronicles. I'm pretty pissed off. It's not fun to be gaslit, especially by your like fellow people in your community. You know what I mean? Like people you know that you grew up with, and now they're just all over Facebook and Twitter, just condescending to anyone who would dare ask a single question about the legitimacy of any of these results, as though it's a foregone conclusion. Like, why would you be asking that unless you want to help Donald Trump steal an election? Because, you know, he tried to something post boxes, something general postmaster, something. It's like, no. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is statistical probability. That's really what I'm concerned with here. It's just, let's look at it from a statistical standpoint, okay? I'm expected to believe that, for example, Wisconsin had a 90+% voter turnout, which is 5 standard deviations away from their average of 66% and a full 21 percentage points above the 69% voter turnout that Obama got in 2008. I'm supposed to believe that Biden turned out 90% of, that's a statistical impossibility. 5 standard deviations, it's not going to happen without something inorganic making it happen. Oh, I'm supposed to believe that like all them 7 precincts in Milwaukee all got 90+ voter participation, including a couple that were over 100%. One of them was 202% self-reported from that precinct, like the amount of ballots in versus the amount of voters that you had on your logs, you know, and who knows how many of them were dead or had moved. Just the raw number of names on your voter logs doesn't match the amount of ballots that you've gotten. And I'm supposed to just not ask a question about that?
Science denier?
Right. I'm a science denier.
Science denier
for okay. I'm supposed
looking
to
at statistics?
I'm supposed to believe that Joe Biden got the most votes of any Democratic candidate for president in U.S. history? Really? I'm supposed to believe that he got more of the black vote than Obama? Really? I'm supposed to believe that not a single Republican lost their race for the House, and we only gained seats. And same with the Senate. We only gained seats in the Senate, and yet Biden is winning. So you want me to believe that a bunch of Republicans voted for their GOP congressmen and senators, but then voted for Biden, and also a bunch of people voted for Biden and did not vote for their Democratic congressmen and their Democrat senators? You expect me to believe that? You expect me to believe that we keep finding these boxes of ballots and not a single one of them breaks for Trump, ever. Nothing that has happened since 4 a.m. on November 4th has been to the benefit of Donald Trump. It's a statistical impossibility. Don't talk to me about whether or not Michigan is technically following their election laws that they passed 2 years ago to make it easy for them to defraud the American public. Don't talk to me about it's literally people check their brains at the door. And it's like, well, I was taught that
you don't have to be a Republican to believe any. Like obviously didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter, but you can't look at this stuff and go, well, that's on the up and up, obviously. And especially after seeing all the hype that's been going on about the mail-in ballots over the last 4 months.
Right.
Like it's just preposterous.
And even from the, they say, well, obviously we're in the pandemic. Obviously we had a lot more mail-in ballots. And it's like, well, sure. But something that's not an obviously is that all of the people who voted by mail voted for Biden. Again, it's a statistical impossibility.
Right.
Before 4 a.m., when the mail-in ballots were coming in, they were splitting at 60-40 in favor of Biden, which is to be expected because Democrats were more likely to vote by mail in the first place. But then once you hit 4 a.m., when all the states went on pause, now every box of ballots that comes in that's a mail-in ballot is 85-15 in favor of Biden.
Right.
It's not possible. It's just, it's so statistically unlikely that it's an impossibility. And I'm surrounded by a bunch of assholes, condescending, smarmy, pretentious assholes who are like, to my friends who were like educated, like at Moody Bible Institute, they taught you how to verify sources. They taught you how to think logically. I'm very disappointed that you're spouting conspiracy theories. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's us that aren't thinking logically. You know what I mean? Because everything that I just said is very, very logical. I would welcome an explanation, to be perfectly honest. I'd welcome an explanation. Please explain to me how this is possible organically. Because if it's organic, if this is the will of the people, then shit, I'll abide by it. You know what I mean? I'll at least accept it because that's the way it works. I'm not a hypocrite. But that's the other thing that really pisses me off. These people on their high horse who are gaslighting me and everybody else, Trump supporter or not, anybody who's got an unwashed brain who's looking at this going, yeah, this isn't right. Yeah, these people would be freaking out if the roles were reversed. Because they're all leftists. All of the people who are condescending to people who are asking questions, they voted for Biden. I guarantee it. There's not a single Joe Jorgensen voter out there who's like, I don't understand why people are asking questions about this election. There's not a single one. Sure. It's all leftists. Okay.
I don't know. We've got some douchebags in the Libertarian Party too. So.
Right. I know they exist, but a lot of them were like former leftists who become libertarians, but still have those holdover leftist proclivities, whatever. My point is if this were reversed and Joe Biden had gone to bed with a 5 to 17 point lead in all of the swing states, and he woke up in the morning and that lead evaporated with a bunch of newly found boxes of ballots that all broke for Trump, almost exclusively, and every single major metropolitan area that's controlled by Republicans in those swing states are the only areas that refuse to release their results in a timely manner. And we have even one piece of video evidence of a Republican poll watcher filling out multiple ballots at a poll station, even just one. If we had one example of a dead Republican in Michigan voting for Trump, what would the response from the left be? It would be the same as the response from the Trump campaign, with one key difference. It would be enabled, propagated, amplified, and assented to by the media. It would be aided and abetted by the complicit media. So if the roles were reversed, make no mistake, we'd already be in the middle of a recount in Wisconsin and Georgia. And they would have called Georgia and North Carolina and Pennsylvania for Biden 2 days ago when they were reporting 90% and he was still up. That's what would have happened. Yeah. So the hypocrisy is insane to me. These people who are just, high and mighty because they see a Biden victory as inevitable at this point. And that's how and now I'm just spitballing here, but wow, what a mask taker offer that is. Right. Oh, now you think victory is assured. Okay. So, I mean, that's my feelings on what's clear and obvious. Like, I don't think that those things are debatable to anybody with a rational brain who's observing things fairly. I think that we can all agree, oh yeah, this isn't right. No, there's
what you're saying is you're crying because your guy isn't winning and you're wanting to challenge it in courts because
I'm just mad that I lost the election. Clearly, openly lost the election. Mm-hmm. They stole it from me.
No, yeah.
Well, one point that I heard, I don't remember who made it, but it might have been Michael Malice or somebody, but it was like, these people act like getting Trump out of office is going to take him away. It's like he's still going to be around. He's just going to have more time to tweet and hold people's feet to the fire and to bitch about things and to stir stuff up. Like, what I don't know what they think Biden is worth cheating for. Why Biden is the one that is worth splitting the country completely in half for.
Cheating for. I don't know, man. On that point, I don't like to be a doom crier, and I've tried really hard not to be over the last year and a half on the QAnon show. I don't like doom criers. And when we headed into the election, of course, every metric that you would look at to indicate who was going to win was resoundingly, unprecedentedly in favor of Trump. And that's the other piece of it. It's like, man, not only does the math just not work out, just from a simple, how many voters do you have? How many ballots did you get? But the math also doesn't work out from an observational perspective. It's like, unless somehow, some way, all of these Biden supporters never, ever said anything to anybody or indicated their support for him, which is, again, I don't think that happened. It's like, how did we get here? You seriously expect me to believe that this many people came out to vote for Biden? When
in the middle of in the cloak of darkness,
the cloak of darkness, right? At 4 a.m. They mailed all their shit in. It's crazy.
Right.
I don't even know where I was going with this.
Did you see the screenshot where Joe Jorgensen's numbers dropped down?
Yes.
Like the exact same amount as Joe Biden's went up?
Yes.
Have you found a legitimate source for that? I want to make sure it's not some
I
libertarians
haven't either.
calling
I haven't
wolf.
seen a legit source for it, but
Yeah.
I did mention that on the thing I recorded yesterday. I don't talk about Jo Jorgensen too much on it, but I do give her a shout out. I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm not talking about her a lot, but even her votes seem to be getting effed with.
Right.
There are reports of her votes going down as Biden's go up.
Right.
It's like,
Like-
I don't know, man. And you know what? I think that libertarians are rightly pissed off about that too. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter if she only got, in actuality, 1.68% of the vote. It's still bullshit for you to take votes away from her.
Right.
Even if it doesn't matter, like, obviously she's still not going to win. It's not just bullshit. Like, man, that's an unkind thing to do. It's destructive of the republic is what
Right.
it is. Like,
It's treasonous.
yeah, it's treasonous is what it is. It's
Yeah.
not like, man, that was a bad move. It's like, no, you should be on the gallows is where you should be.
Yeah.
For that shit.
And to clarify, Scott McElroy, are you in any way suicidal or experiencing suicidal thoughts? Just making sure.
No, dude. No. I mean, hey, look, I'll be totally honest with you. If things went real bad here and go the direction that the left wants them to go, I will say I disagree with you. Actually, I don't think Trump will be around after.
Really?
No. I don't think that you spend 4 years accusing a man of literally being an operative of a foreign government and a Hitler and a dictator
That's true.
if you don't intend to throw him in prison afterwards.
Well,
Otherwise,
that is
kind
true,
of
but
like
why
being
isn't Trump
hollow,
going after
isn't it?
Hillary at all?
What's that?
I said that is true, but why did Trump never actually go after Hillary?
Well, that's the question, right? I could give the old QAnon answer and kick the can down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say, well, that may happen. It may have already happened.
Just hang in there.
Just hang
The
in there.
answer.
Well, and right now at this point, I am still hanging in there. Although, I mean, I will say, and I said on the thing that I'm going to post for QAnon Chronicles too, at this juncture in the game, there really aren't many paths out left, And up until this point, with the Q narrative and the way things worked, game theory, all of that, it's like, okay, there's probably a dozen different game plans for each outcome.
Yeah.
I think that we've kind of whittled the game plans down. We're like way past the part in the movie where Doctor Strange saw the millions of universes,
Right.
and we're
Right.
in the one universe. And now we have to do what we need to do, and there really aren't very many options of how to make that happen. That's my opinion anyway. So like, I think it's clear, obvious, the fraud is real. This is a fraudulent election. So what happens next is either the Trump administration exposes it and fixes it, or they don't.
Yeah.
And if they don't, well then, as I said on the show that you haven't heard yet, I'll be the first to say, yeah, I think I got psyoped. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, this is kind of the do or die moment for Trump and Q, and are they trustworthy and whatever, is like, because it's obvious to me this is fraudulent. If it's obvious to me, it's obvious to the administration. If we've got videos all over Twitter of election officials filling out ballots and doing illegal shit, they also have to have videos of it. So it's just a matter of whether or not they're actually going to do something about it, right? I will say,
you're saying if Trump does not win and he does not fight it to the very death, then obviously all of this Q stuff was nonsense.
yeah, it was a controlled op. Yeah, not nonsense. I still think it was a government op.
Sure.
It's just not to our benefit. I mean, that much is certain. I've said that on the show many, many times. Like, whatever you think about Q, I mean, if you examine it rationally, there's really no way that it's not happening without the involvement of the Trump administration.
Right.
It's just, to what end is the question. And I think we're going to find out pretty soon to what end that is. But, like, I do think that there are paths out. I mean, also something that rattles around in my mind too is just, given how the Trump administration decentralized the majority of the military from the military industrial complex, like the fact that top brass doesn't actually make chain of command decisions anymore. We do mission directive and we give it to specific units and battalions that are on the ground. We let them figure out how to do it. I feel like, and I could be wrong about this as well, but shit, man, if they get away with the steal and Congress which is the only entity that actually declares the winner in the election. If Congress does declare Biden the winner and we get a Biden inauguration, that's lined up for January, a part of me wonders if the military isn't going to go with worst case scenario, which would be
Which
big.
we don't need to mention on YouTube. Just kidding. I don't care.
Right. But it would be big, obvious, overt military roundup. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, we're not going to let the Republic die. It would have been great if we had been able to do it in a more palatable way optically. Right. But at the end of the day, optics be damned. We're not letting the Republic die. That's what I would hope would happen. If worst comes to worst, we don't get any recounts. The media just declares it for Biden. Trump and the GOP rolls over, or the courts don't cooperate, or whatever the case is. I still think that the military probably won't actually let it happen. But of course, I could be totally wrong about that as well. Sure. I think that moving forward here, I will say one thing I think is a virtual guarantee. I think that we're going to have a recount. I don't think that there's any way to avoid it because it still hasn't been declared. If Arizona and Nevada go to Trump or whatever, he still could win. Although now I think they're calling Georgia and Pennsylvania as of this morning. But no matter who wins the first time, we'll call it, it's going to be a really slim margin. Yeah. So if Biden wins by 276 electoral votes, the Trump administration is going to demand recounts. And they're going to get them in Wisconsin and Georgia at the very least.
And they should. I think no matter who wins, they should be calling for recounts because clearly this whole process is completely.
Bingo. And that's the other thing is if Trump wins by a slim margin, the Biden camp is also going to demand recounts and they're going to get them as well. Sure. So no matter what we do, we're going to have a recount in this election. And I think that's when the cards are going to fall and we're going to see what's really going on. Because if they recount and the fraud is as real and extensive as it appears to be, and the swamp is as drained as I think it's been, which is not to say completely drained, but we've done a lot of really good work getting the corruptocrats out. So if you can reasonably trust the federal election officials and we do a recount and the fraud is actual and the Trump administration laid a trap, which I still think is a distinct possibility because this fraud is just so laughably obvious, unlike any other fraud they've done in the history of this country.
It's like if this stuff was in a movie, you'd go, that's not believable. That's a bad script. Like you'd throw that out and make it more elaborate of a scheme.
And they do this shit. I mean, this is shit that they do all the time. They did it in California in 2018. I mean, 20 plus House races in 2018. The same exact thing happened. They went to bed with a big, beefy, comfortable lead. They woke up in the morning and a bunch of new ballots got found that pushed the other candidate over just enough to win by a slim little margin. And it usually works because who pays that close of attention to a congressional race in California? Yeah. Well, the eyes of the whole world are on this election right now. Everybody is watching. So in my opinion, I think a Trump landslide still happened in actuality. I think it was so large that they didn't actually anticipate it being that large. And that's why the fraud is so obvious. Yeah. Because you're faced with two options if you're the deep state or whatever. You either let Trump win, and you know what happens to you if he does, or you Hail Mary. I mean, they don't have anything left. You know what I mean? And what are you going to do? It's a football game. You're like 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. You're at your 20-yard line. You're down by 3 points. Mm-hmm. You're going to toss the Hail Mary. Even if you know there's a really strong chance it's going to be intercepted, you're going to toss it. So I feel like this is the Hail Mary of the deep state. I could be proven wrong, but the voter fraud is so obvious. It's just like, man. But here's what would happen in reality if it's exposed and it's as wide scale as it appears to be. If it's as wide scale as it appears to be and they prove it, then you have to do a revote in some of these states. Not just a recount, a whole revote.
Is that anything that's ever been done in history of the country?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't think they revoted in Florida after the recount, and that's the last high-profile recount that I can remember happening. But yeah, I mean, look, like voter fraud is a real problem. It's been going on for a lot longer than just the 2020 election. I mean, this is something, Philadelphia has been doing voter fraud for the last 100 years. You know what I mean? If you look into the data, Philly public officials has been getting arrested for voter fraud since the early 1900s. So this isn't a new thing, but it needs to change, right? And you got to get the public behind it. You know what I mean? You could have done it after 2018, but frankly, the fraud wasn't obvious enough. I don't feel like you could have come out on TV as Trump in 2018 and been like, hey, we're doing blockchain voting technology. We're totally changing the voting process. Because they would have been like, oh, you're just changing the voting process so that you can rig it for the election.
They would say the obvious thing that is obviously true.
Right.
Yes.
So what if this is yet another trap? And I will say, for 3.5 years, I mean, there have been plenty of times in the past where the Trump administration has either said or done something, or their enemies have said or done something that seems really not great. You know, like, how are they gonna turn this around? And I mean, I've been surprised many times up until now. So my horse isn't out of the race yet. All right. Like, I'm not in despair land here. I'm not depressed. I'm just pissed off. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm pissed.
So let's talk about, I saw somebody post, he's a friend of mine who doesn't get it. He's not a conspiracy guy. He's against Q and all that, whatever. He posted about this watermark thing. I don't know anything about this. Maybe you can shed some light on it, but I've seen the word watermark come up in a couple different things, and referring to people who are obviously as stupid as flat earthers. First off, fuck yourself. Scott, any remarks on watermark?
I don't know, in terms of like straight up legitimacy, I don't know specifically about watermarks being a method that they've used to identify which ballots are real and which aren't.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything concrete indicating that that's the case. But I've seen plenty of evidence that indicates that there probably were some measures put in place, whether they're watermarks or specific like dot pattern prints. And I mean, I've seen a couple of different things. It's really a matter of either the Trump administration did something to secure the election or they didn't. And right now, as things stand, it'd be really easy to conclude they didn't, because obviously the election got massively frauded. Like, this is a huge amount of fraud. So you could say, well, clearly the election isn't secure. But it's like, yeah, but optics, public opinion, etc. Like, if you're going to do it, there really isn't a better time to expose voter fraud than during this, the most watched election in human history. If you're going to do it, this would be the time and this would be the way.
You've got nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. And if you're gonna look at it through the Q lens, that's something that Q says all the time. You're watching a movie. Patriots are in control. What makes a good movie? And I mean, people say, well, what makes a good movie? Good actors make a good movie. There's a lot of things that make a good movie. I think one of the most important things that makes a good movie is you not actually being confident that the hero's going to win.
Right.
I think, because if you're watching a movie, you're watching a movie, and movies, the good guy wins, you know what I mean? Unless he's an anti-hero, in which, for the purposes of the movie, he's also the good guy. But regardless, you watch a movie, the good guys are going to win, because they always do in a movie. But man, it's a really good movie if you're in the last 15, 20 minutes of it and you aren't confident that your guy's going to win in this movie. You're like, I don't see a way out for him. But then he pulls it off anyway. That's a really good movie. So
what else is a good movie? Signs.
Signs.
M. Night Shyamalan in general. Are we going to get that Shyamalan twist here
Let's
at the end?
get that Shyamalan twist. Guess what? We're in the woods somewhere. And it is the year.
We are the social experiment.
Yeah. The year is 2120 in actuality, and we've been holed up in this. Oh wait, no, that's The Village.
Right.
This is the sequel to The Village, is what we're in right now.
But
yeah, you know what? The twist would be, yeah, sorry guys, you thought that you had that election in the bag, but we just exposed all of you for who you really are instead. I mean, that would be the twist, but time will tell. It's going to be a protracted thing no matter what. Like, we're not going to know in the next week or two. We may know, as in get a declaration of victory from the Biden campaign, but we're not actually going to know anything until this gets litigated.
We're not going to get like a Facebook announcement. Hey, guess what, guys?
Nope.
Biden won or Trump won or anything. Like, this is not going to end well
No,
in
no,
either
it's not.
direction.
No, that's the thing, is it's not going to be clean and painless. And I knew that going into the election. I wasn't going into it thinking, yeah, this is going to be super easy and clean and calm.
Right.
I did think that we were going to go into it and we were going to get overwhelming landslide Trump victory right out of the gate. Now, time has transpired. I've seen how the left has reacted and all of this. Like, thinking back on it, it's like, actually, if the Trump administration has still got a plan here, this is the better option, right? Because what would have happened if he had won in a landslide? Just like right out of the gate. They still would have been like, God, he cheated. He defrauded the election. They would have accused him of all this stuff, but nobody
I think it would have been better. I think it would have been better because it would have been ripping the Band-Aid off and getting this over with. But
right, it would have been better for them, yes.
Right.
But not for us. I think, yeah, not for us. And just from a Schadenfreude perspective, I'll say this. I would much rather have these idiots truly believe they won and then get it taken away from them. Like, it's much better, in my opinion, like just delighting in their misery, much, much better for them to not have gone into the election uncertain and hoping Biden was going to win and then be blown out by Trump. It's way better for
things
them
like that on the internet, and you end up in a compilation of douchebags who were overly confident and had their ass handed to them.
Yeah,
that
I know.
circulates for years to come.
I don't want to be that guy. And anytime I express strong confidence, what do? I always qualify it. I always say, I could be wrong. I don't know anything for 100%. And I don't, the smarter you get, the less smart you think you are. So,
and that's why you and I can run shows together, because we can disagree on things and be cool with it.
Yeah. Because we're both idiots.
Amen. And we know it, and that's all that matters. But
at the end of the day, I'm just a dumbass. But I'm telling you what this dumbass thinks, and it's your prerogative to listen to it.
That's right. So with some of these others, like, did you see the video with the guy with the little red wagon? And have you heard about the Sharpie Gate and all that stuff? Get into some of these other things that are a little bit easier to wrap your brain around as far as fraud theories.
Yeah, well, that's the stuff, and I think that's surface level stuff. I would imagine that the kind of fraud that, in terms of like top level organization and coordination, I think we've got the evidence of that, and that's not coming out public yet. But yeah, you want to talk about the weirder stuff that's just verifiable, from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accounts and videos and stuff. Yeah, apparently they were handing out Sharpies in Arizona to mark these ballots, which is a problem because that invalidates the ballot. It's not an election marker, it's a Sharpie.
Yeah, it
bleeds through. So they're handing all of these registered Republicans these Sharpies to mark their ballots. You know what I mean? They're like I referenced earlier today, you got countless videos of election officials that are clearly filling out ballots, and there's police standing right there in the room with them. You've got video footage of a USPS postal worker. Project Veritas. Go look at anything Project Veritas has been doing lately, leading up into the election and then post-election. They got plenty of it. You got a mail carrier talking to an undercover journalist, and the undercover journalist is like, yeah, man, where can I get more ballots, And this U.S. postal worker is like, well, let me see what I can do. I bet I can get you some more ballots, You've got another USPS worker from Michigan talking to Project Veritas about how they were being directed to separate absentee ballots from other mail so that they could go through it and postmark it with November 3rd or earlier so that the votes are valid, right? And that's just to scratch the surface. You've got people, obviously, when the mail-in ballots were sent out, you sent out 100 million ballots to every voter on the registration log. In states like Michigan, where they haven't cleaned those registration logs in decades, there are dead people there. There are people that live in Alaska now there. But regardless, they just sent out the ballots willy-nilly, right?
There were 100 times as many people that got sent a mail-out ballot than who voted for Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah, isn't it incredible? Oh, that's another stat too. It's like Republicans actually requested more mail-in ballots than Democrats did.
Really?
Republicans requested more ballots than Democrats did. Now, we still
Interesting.
sent out 100 million ballots to whoever, no matter whether or not they asked for them.
Yeah.
But again, it's a statistical probability thing. It's like, wait. How in the hell do none of these boxes of absentee ballots break for Trump when we know that Trump supporters asked for more of them?
Right.
That doesn't line up with reality, man.
So are you suggesting that these ballots were requested fraudulently, sent out, and then filled out for Biden and sent back?
Maybe. That could be. I don't know what the explanation is. I'm just saying it doesn't add up.
Sure.
It's messed up, man. What else? What other wonky shenanigans do we got going on? I mean, you got video footage of people dumping ballots. You got video footage of election officials counting ballots. And literally, one of them gets so frightened, pulls a ballot out, like visibly reacts to it, like almost rips his mask off, like touching it like it's garlic and he's a vampire. And he crumbles it up and he throws it away. And like these leftists who are assured of their victory right now are so smarmy, and it's like these are the people that are like, man, if we can save even one life with our draconian lockdown measures, it's worth it. Even one life. But it's like, well, you know that even one fraudulent vote is a real vote that now doesn't count, right? But that doesn't matter. Those kinds of insane polarities, those don't apply in this situation.
Well, and the pendulum swing. The pendulum swing of like these people who have been screaming for 4 years straight about voter fraud, now saying there's no such thing as voter fraud. Voter fraud is impossible because it's working in their favor.
Yeah. And the fact that they don't perceive the hypocrisy is insane. So, I mean, just like I was saying before the election, everything that the Democrats have done so far, and I hate using that phrase because you know what I believe about the parties, they're the same at the leadership level, but that's the face of the opposition right now is the Democrats. So we'll call them that, They freaking, what was I saying? Don't remember. Where was I going with that? I have ADD. I had a brain injury a couple years ago. Where was I going with that?
That's when you got into Q, right?
That's right. It was actually Q that injured my brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dug too deep.
Hit your head. Well, they say conspiracy theories are like potato chips. Once you eat one, you eat them all, right? That's what I've seen from people who really don't believe in it.
You get real salty.
Yeah, and you get real salty. Yep, your sodium intake just skyrockets. It's insane.
That's right.
But like that kind of thinking really, I'm like, okay, I feel like you're arguing that I shouldn't indulge in any conspiracy theories ever then. Because if I indulge in one, then I'm going to inevitably believe in all of them. And obviously, not all conspiracy theories are true.
Just probably most of them.
But some of them definitely are.
Right.
And it would be important and imperative for me and everybody else to know when there is one happening.
If they're boarding up windows so you can't see what they're doing with votes. Just give me a good reason for that and I'll go away.
Okay, here's the good reason. I'm not making this up because this is the defense that they're mounting for that specific thing. Oh, well, we were just boarding up the windows because, there were people outside of them with cameras and we were trying to protect the personal information of the voters. That's their justification for it. I'm not making that up. They're like, well, we had to board up the windows because there were people standing outside of them and we didn't want them looking in and getting voter information. So we had to board the windows up. Like, oh, okay. You guys didn't have any like slip covers on hand that you could just.
You had what? That's the other thing. These people, they got sleepy and went to bed at like 11 p.m. because they were tired. They were calling it a night. They go to bed. It's like you had one job. You knew what this was going to be. You've been pushing for this to happen. You've been pushing for like there to be this much mass chaos and for there to be mail-in votes all over the place and there to be votes coming in left and right. You didn't have a plan. You didn't, and not only that, but you didn't expect to stay up a little bit late, a little past your bedtime to count these.
To count these votes.
You're early risers because you're there to receive those 130,000 ballots
at 4 a.m. So you went to bed at 11 in reality, they went to bed at 11 because they knew they had to get up at 4 a.m. and get all
Right.
those ballots. You know, it
I've
wasn't
seen
their Olympic
podcasters with more
duty.
stamina covering this than
Yeah.
the ballot counters.
Right. It's dude, it's unbelievable. And yeah, I've been pretty frustrated about it today. You know, I think part of that was just waking up this morning and starting my shift and all of the things that irritate me about my job happening on the same day. And that just pissed me off to start. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then I'm an idiot. I'm a glutton for punishment. I can't tear myself away from the information stream. So of course I'm still on social media, watching all of these smarmy douchebags just gloat and deride, you know, like, we won, it's inevitable, and you're an asshole, and maybe even a Nazi for thinking that something fishy is going on here. And it's like, man, do you think that this rhetoric is going to go away towards people like you and me if Biden wins?
Right.
You know, they're selling this like, we're in your corner, we need unity, and we need to get rid of this president, and all he does is divide. It's like, yeah, well, we're going to be divided a lot more in an Obama administration, because people who think freely are not welcome there, man. And they've
look at things unbiasedly or semi-unbiasedly. I have my own biases, but they're not for Trump. But I can look at this unbiasedly and say, this is not how the process is supposed to go if we want a fair election.
Nope.
I mean,
Nope.
I never believed in a fair election to begin with, and I probably lean more towards the side of all of this is for show to keep us distracted anyway, and they already know who won, and it doesn't matter.
Yep. And you and I are almost in agreement there. It's just that I still haven't seen what I will consider to be like the incontrovertible indicators that that's the case.
Sure.
We're real close to that point. We're real close to that point for me. Like I said.
And isn't that where QAnon would be a brilliant psyop? You convince all these conspiracy libertarian type people to jump back into the system and suck up to the government. And I'm not saying it's the case, but I would have to give them a lot of credit for that.
Absolutely.
One, because they were real sneaky about it.
They were. If it turns out to be if that turns out to be the case, then yeah, mad props to them. Wow. Right. They were even more insidious than we thought, right? But then, you know.
And then you have even more of a reason to be horrified. Like, if that turns out to be a psyop completely.
Yep.
Like,
but then I jump back to the stuff I know, separating it from how I feel with all of this chaos, because that's the point, by the way. They want our loosh, dude. They want the loosh, man. No matter who you are, you're not like emotionally even keeled right now, I think. And that's kind of the goal, right? So, but if I separate myself from that and I go back to things that I know, it's like, yeah, but that still doesn't make sense to me. If Q and Trump are a psyop, right? Designed to just placate us crazy conspiracy theorists, get us re-engaged with the system, maybe get us to pledge fealty to a government that we feel like we like, but really has intended to become dystopian and tyrannical the whole time, then why did he transform the judiciary? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing, is like, you look at stuff that he did though, and how
you got to give him some wins if you want the psyop to work.
Yeah, but you don't want to give him wins that are going to make it exceedingly difficult for you to actually be a dystopia in the future. Like, that's
unless they're not real wins, unless those people are controlled too.
Hey, you know what? That's a total possibility, right? I mean, it could be that the 2/3 of the judiciary that he appointed are all fake originalists, fake constitutional conservatives. But like, it's those things where I'm like, man, if he really was just controlled op to get us to trust him, but really he's also deep states, like, he did a lot of stuff to really dismantle and remove the power of the deep state. And like, if he's intending to become a dictator, I don't see why he would have done any of that, because it's going to be, from a bureaucratic level, exceedingly more difficult to actually achieve that, you know, unless you go the executive fiat route, right? And that's the only thing. Like, if Biden and Harris win, they're just going to executive order away everything that Trump did. Yeah. But I don't know how they can get rid of the judges. That's one thing that they really can't do. You can't just fire judges. You know what I mean? So, you know, they have a term and they have to serve it. Yeah, and I mean, worst comes to worst, like, I still don't think that that's the end game. Even if Biden wins and there's no challenge to it and the voter fraud isn't exposed or whatever, like, I think that the military might step in. And short of that, I think that there are too many red-pilled, gun-owning Americans, and and and
Possible.
even that, I don't know. Maybe we got too placated.
There's an increasing amount of blue-pilled gun-owning Americans as well, though.
Yeah, there are. So it would be a civil war.
Yep.
Yep. Worst comes to worst, I think this ends in a nice juicy civil war. And if it ends in a nice juicy civil war, then that probably was the plan the whole time, right?
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah.
That's what I've been saying the whole time.
But hey, or maybe civil war was always inevitable and it was just a matter of getting the cleanest one, or I have no idea. What I do know is that this election is clearly fraudulent. I think I know that. And what happens next is really just a matter of finding out what happens next. But holy cow, is this fake?
And will we ever actually know?
That's the question, isn't it?
As a conspiracy guy, I've come to accept that there's a great possibility that no matter how hopeful I get, we will never know the truth. So,
and I agree with you. I
holding
was
my
just
breath.
saying that to somebody yesterday. I was like, you know what the most frustrating thing about all of this is if Biden and Harris win and they get their administration and they do all of the stuff that we joked about in the election apocalypse,
right?
We will never know officially what happened. Just like we would never have known how fraudulent the Russian collusion story was if Hillary had won. We would never have known that. There would never have been any investigations. We would never have had declassified documents. General Flynn would have gone right to prison along with Donald Trump and his family. And only those of us who just still don't trust the government would have been like, yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe something's wrong there, but we never would have known. And it's the same thing now. It's like, okay, this fraud is clear and obvious, but if they win anyway, and then they get to do what they want to do, it will just be left to know it, but never actually have confirmation of it. Doomed to sound crazy to all of our less free-thinking friends and family members, I guess. And that's not a fun prospect. I don't want to live the rest of my life as a crazy person. I already have lived.
Just when we were starting to sound more sane, as like and I mean, like I said, the Jeffrey Epstein wins and all these things for Trump. What if it was just the biggest brilliant psyop with a couple sacrifices to make us all feel like we were finally starting to be accepted, and then just pull the rug out from under us and make us into more crazy than we've ever been?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. And I think if that's not the case, it's like either something like QAnon, like if you're taking it at face value, those were really the only two options. You were either going to get something like QAnon that actually exposes the truth, or we were always going to be in a dystopia. You know what I mean? So like, it's really whether or not is QAnon actually an exposure op, or is it a placating op designed to identify us so that when the hammer actually drops and the power is finally consolidated, then we just get disenfranchised. No more buying and selling for you unless you abandon what you think, abandon thinking entirely, in fact.
I, for one, think that sounds like a perfect solution to all of life's problems, and I look forward to the Kamala Harris presidency.
Yes.
God bless, or Allah bless Kamala.
Right. Yeah, Allah bless Kamala. That's funny. Kamala Akbar, right? Okay. Kamalu Akbar. Yes, no, obviously me and Dan, Dan, you and I are in exactly the same boat. Like, don't get me wrong. I am very much looking forward to a Kamala Harris and Joe Biden presidency, and I agree with everything that they are going to do because I know that they have character and they care about me.
Thank you for enjoying our satire about our Lord and Savior Kamala
Harris. The last 3.5 years have been satire designed. We're part of we are also the PSYOP.
We are the PSYOP.
Yeah, just so you know.
I'm going to make shirts.
You're a government listener. We
shirts,
also.
I am the PSYOP.
I am
the system
the PSYOP.
is down.
New t-shirts. They're going up on the merch store this week. I am the PSYOP. I'm only half kidding. That's a great shirt. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I am the psyop.
I can prove
There's
you wrong.
Palpatine's face is somewhere on the shirt.
I can prove you wrong because I can put it in the store, and then I can see whether or not you actually buy it. So
That's true. That's true.
And it will probably be there.
My time has come to an end.
Yeah, actually, I do have about 5 or 6 new shirt designs up in the System is Down merch store. We've got a You Are the Power shirt that I just put in there, so check that all out at tsidpod.com/shop. But, Scott, I know you got a real life to get back to, which is probably kind of a second fiddle to what is happening in conspiracy world right now. But
it's like a fourth dirigible.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not an instrument. That's the Zeppelin. I meant didgeridoo. That's what I meant. I don't know. All right, I gotta go back to work.
All right, tell everybody where they can find out more information about QAnon Chronicles.
You can go to QAnonChronicles.com. You can also go to tsidpod.com. It is posted on both of those websites, along with the show notes, which is just my Twitter feed. So take a look at that. I post everything that I see that's weird and fishy, and it's worth looking at so that you can like make your own decisions before you are legally not able to anymore.
Hail Kamala.
Hail Kamala. We love you, Kamala. Mm.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.